Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the shortcut to success. So, before I get anyone's hopes too far up, I'm going to start off by saying the shortcut to success is the work. There's an entrepreneur that I follow. I actually met him at a conference, him and his wife, a year ago, I believe. Yeah, last year, early 2019. Miles Beckler. So Miles and Melanie Beckler are internet entrepreneurs, and they've got a very successful business in like the angel meditation space. But Miles Beckler is also starting his own. He has started his own online digital marketing, online marketing advice, podcast, YouTube channel. He's grown quite a following, just like his wife has in her respective niche. But one thing that Miles talks about is that we all want the secret to success. We always are going to the conference. We're looking for the next hack. We're trying to find that little nugget of knowledge that is going to get us to that next level of success. But it always goes back to the fact that the secret to success is the actual work. The one thing that Miles says that I really resonate with and that really helps me just make sure that I stay focused on the path is that he says it's going to take work. Expect 3 years minimum where you're going to be doing the work and you're not going to have very much to show for it. You're not going to really make money online. And part of that advice is to actually get a job if you need a job. If you need a job to sustain you, to pay your bills. He did that as part of his story. I guess he had gotten married, and at 30, he had gone all in on some pyramid scheme like network marketing company. And he had to sell his cars. He had to get rid of everything, and he had to move in with his parents and his new bride. They had to live at his parents' house, and they hit rock bottom, right? So they obviously built up, they became successful, they slowly worked jobs. I think he worked in a call center, and then at one point she worked at a place in Lake Tahoe that was relevant to that niche that she was in. That way she could be focused on that and build up her website on the side. And eventually they built out of that where they could get their own place, and they live nomadically, and they've traveled, they've lived in a bunch of places. Doing the work is the shortcut to success. I'm sorry for all of you who clicked on this thinking that there was going to be one little hack or one little trick. The fact is, it's going to take work. It's going to take consistent effort over time. And that is when you start to move the needle and see success on charts, on your listeners, on podcasts, on your views on YouTube. You've got to go and do the work. And I've talked about this before on a previous episode, probably about a year, maybe a little more than a year ago. One cool hack, if you are getting frustrated, if you've put out 10 YouTube videos and you don't see that many views, if you put out 20 podcasts and you don't have that many listeners, go to people who you admire, go to their social media and look at their content. And YouTube is really good for this. You can sort from old to new. And then you can see Gary Vaynerchuk. You can see Brendan Burchard, any internet entrepreneur that you love, any role model that you love. Look at their oldest videos and look at how bad they were when they started. And then look at their newest videos and see how far they've come. So we're kind of all at that older video stage when we first get started. Some of us are better than others at public speaking. Others of us were terrible. If you listen to my first episodes, my first YouTube videos, I'm monotone, I talk slowly, I rely on notes a lot, and it's not a very pretty sight, but I leave it up there so that I can show the progress of how much I've transformed myself over the last few years. One other tip for the shortcut to success: stop hopping around and trying new freaking things every 6 months. And this was me. We all do it. Shiny object syndrome. People hit me up. They try this thing. Hey, I'm doing this now. 5 months later, the market was slow. I ended up jumping back into insurance. There's this one kid I'm thinking about. He keeps texting me. First, he was texting me, hey, what about this broker that I'm with? You should join them. They're really good. He got his real estate license and stuff. And lo and behold, 5 months later, he's like, hey, how are things going with you with everything that's going on? Are you doing okay? Because he's trying to check in with me. Like, am I still being successful, or am I failing, or is it just him that's failing? He's not very sure, right? And so I told him, oh, I assure you I'm doing pretty well. Like, I'm starting to get a hang of this stuff. I got a deal closing in a few weeks. I still have interested buyers, even with all the coronavirus stuff, that are looking for real estate. And I asked him, how about you? How are you doing? Well, my business isn't doing too well, so I actually ended up changing from that. I'm going to go back to home insurance or something. And so I'm just sitting here shaking my head like, this dude is changing every 3 to 4 months. He's trying something else. He's moving. And the problem is that it takes 3 years, like Miles said, you should expect it to take 3 straight years of doing the work and staying consistent and showing up before you start to see those results. And another thing, when you look at all these YouTubers and these successful entrepreneurs that you love, look at how long they've been doing this thing. They've been showing up for 10, 15, 20 years. You don't really see too many entrepreneurs that are super successful that haven't been doing videos for at least 2 to 3 years. It's not like you might put out a viral video and get a lot of views on one video, but you're not going to grow a following and a fan base if you just have a one-hit wonder. That's my alarm, my intermittent fasting, so I can have my first meal for the day after this video. There's another quote, and I'm looking here at my whiteboard behind the camera just to make sure I don't miss anything. And I'm not reading it word for word. I don't need to rely on notes anymore, but I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. So Vince Lombardi has a quote that says, "The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary." That is so true. You're not going to have success unless you put the work in. And then I've mentioned this before on previous episodes. Find a guide or mentor. This is a way to fast track yourself to success. Offer to buy them coffee, offer to buy them lunch, add value to them somehow. You can't just ask. I have people do that all the time. They reach out to me like, "Chris, can you teach me what you know about wholesaling, about how do I get my license?" Like all these things that they could just Google. I want to add value. I want to help, but sometimes I got to give tough love and just say, "Dude, you've got a lot of work to do before I can really answer some of these questions. You're asking me basic stuff that Google can tell you the answer to." So you want to make sure to add value to other people, right? So if you're going, here's an example. If you're going to some hiking trip or you're going up a volcano or you're hiking Mount Everest, one does not just pack their bags and hike Mount Everest. There's training involved, there's preparation. You've got to have your supplies and the right gear. And most importantly, you've got to have a hiking trail guide for whatever trail it is that you're going on, especially if it's advanced. If there's areas you should avoid, things to look out for that an experienced person who has been there and done that is going to be able to know. They're going to be able to tell you what to avoid, what to look out for, and to make sure that you're doing things correctly. Another example, when I went scuba diving, I got scuba certified in Thailand in 2017. And I haven't been back since, so I would need a refresher to go. But there were 3 or 4 days in a row where I was going out scuba diving every day, taking a little further, practicing in the shallow water in Koh Phi Phi, Thailand. And then like the 3rd or 4th day, we went out on the boat deep next to the water and then like jumped off the boat into water where it's so deep you can't even see the floor. Kind of crazy, but kind of cool at the same time. And with a guide, I'm able to know they'll point to the thing. I can look at the gauge, see how much oxygen I have left. And we have to make sure that we time it correctly because you're continuously running out of oxygen and you run out faster, I believe, the deeper that you go. So without a guide, I might forget. I might be looking at the little sea turtles swimming off into the abyss and not realizing that I barely have enough oxygen to get back. Whereas with the guide, he would tap and point at our little, I forget what it's even called, the little gauge to see how much oxygen we've got left in the tank. And we would start heading back with enough so that by the time we ran low on oxygen, we were back at the boat. Another thing to note, many of you have probably heard of Seth Godin. You've probably seen some interviews of him or read some of his books. And a lot of people say they have writer's block or they can't do something or they're a bad photographer. And Seth says, "Show me your bad writing." And they don't have writing to show. So Seth says you need to have 50,000 words. You need to do the work. You're going to suck at stuff when you first start. It's going to take some time, some practice. So don't just say, "I'm bad at writing. I'm bad at this. I'm bad at that." You've got to have the repetitions done. You've got to show that you've actually gone through the process of trying these things out and not even just trying them, like legitimately going all in on these things. And there's another quote I saw from a Seth Godin interview when I was writing out some notes to talk about today on this episode. Seth in this interview says, "If you write poorly enough, your brain will give up and sooner or later you'll start writing well." And so it's kind of funny because it's not that your brain's going to give up. It's that you start to get better. You continue to do these things over and over and over and over again and over again. You just keep on going. And as you write more, as you put out more podcasts, as you put out more YouTube videos, as you show up more, as you analyze more deals in real estate, as you write more pages of the book that you're trying to write or more blog posts, whatever. I think I said blog posts twice, but if you do it enough, you're going to get good at it. If you have a mentor who's done it before, they can tell you what to write about, what topics to write about. Lately, I've been looking kind of for a coach. I haven't really been looking very hard, but I've been seriously considering it because we all need help staying accountable. A lot of times I know I want to hustle. I know I've got a lot of things on my whiteboard that I got on my action item list, on my to-do list. But sometimes I'm wondering, are those the right things? Am I focusing on the right things? You can have mentors in different areas. I remember going to one of these little weekend seminars on real estate. It's kind of like a clickbaity type thing where they try to pull in a bunch of people and sell you on an upsell and get you to pay 40 grand over the course of a year to learn from them. And fortunately, I've never really fallen prey to any of these things that are just trying to sell you on the dream, but they did have a lot of good information there over that 3-day seminar. And one of the speakers, who's definitely a trained salesman, I mean, he's good at giving that pitch, asking who's interested, getting people to come by to like get you to fill in the application and stuff and capturing your information. But he did have a good point where he said, you've got to hire mentors and coaches for everything. You're not going to be able to figure it all out on your own. And I've mentioned this before. Why would I want to hire a trainer, a personal trainer who doesn't really look the part, or they don't look like they really have the knowledge? They just self-proclaimed trainer. They don't have any certifications. They don't show that they've actually done any of the work in that area. Why would I hire them to be my fitness coach? Similarly, if someone's a great fitness coach, they may not be such a good financial coach. They don't really know about the stocks and investing in real estate and things like that. So the example that he mentioned is that he's got a personal trainer. He's got a swimming coach for his kid. His coach has a different coach for soccer that comes and gives him private lessons. Whatever it is, you've got to get the experts in each area that you're trying to get good at. So with real estate, I'm aligning myself with people that are successful as real estate agents. I know people that are successful as real estate investors, so they're familiar with the investment side, flips, rentals, wholesaling, all of that. For podcasting, I haven't really met a whole lot of successful podcasters, so I'd really like to expand into that area, find someone who's further along than me, really connect with them, because it's great to have accountability partners and things like that. But at times, it's like the blind leading the blind. It's great if you've got another friend that's motivated to try out creating a blog with you. But if you both don't know what you're doing, you're just going to spin your wheels and you're both going to get frustrated, versus you paying somebody or hiring somebody or adding value to somebody who's further along and can make sure to bring you up a lot faster than if you're just working with someone else who kind of wants to try something, but they don't really know what they're doing either, if that makes sense. So again, let's cover some of those points that I've got on my whiteboard here. The shortcut to success is the work. Miles Beckler says that you should expect to do 3 years minimum of something consistently, showing up every day before you start to see the progress and the results that you think you're going to get after 3 months. It should be 3 years, not 3 months. And expect it to take 3 years, but of course it may happen sooner, it may happen later. If you have that expectation in your mind, you won't get disheartened when you're 6 months in and you don't see the progress. And then the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. Vince Lombardi said that. Make sure to find a guide or a mentor, add value to them. It's like finding a hiking guide on a trail. Remember Seth Godin's writer's block comment? Don't say I have writer's block or that I suck at this. He'll ask you, show me your bad writing. And until you've got 50,000 words of bad writing, you haven't done enough work. His other quote that he said, if you write poorly enough, your brain will give up. Sooner or later, you'll start writing well. So that's all I have for this episode. I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, please make sure to share it with a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, like this, subscribe, comment. I will engage back. I downloaded this YouTube app where I can make sure I get all the updates as comments come in, so I can make sure to thank you for listening and watching and sharing with your friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon. See ya.